Hey everybody, I'm Alex McClellan.
And I'm Mason McClellan.
And we're the Backtrack Brothers. We go back and watch classic movies and see how they hold up now.
Today, we're gonna look at my top 5 scariest movies that I've ever seen.
Yeah, now keep in mind, he's a teenager, he's only been on this earth for a limited amount of time, and he hasn't been watching horror movies his whole life. So he doesn't have maybe some of all your classics, and that's totally okay. It will come with time as he gets exposed to more movies. These are just his favorite scary movies right now. And we will come back and revisit this in future years and see what gets added to this list.
Yes, we are. Starting at number 5 is Quiet Place Part 1.
Ooh.
So I mentioned on our last top list that I loved Quiet Place 1 and 2. Quiet Place 2 is more entertaining, but I think this one overall was more tense and scary.
I would agree.
We saw this together in theaters, which probably made it even scarier. And I mentioned earlier too that this is, the first ever horror movie I've seen in theaters.
Yeah.
So it was a whole new experience just watching it from your couch.
Oh,
and
totally different.
Especially, with a movie that's quiet and just tense. It was it was cool.
That was one of those movies, it really added a lot to see in the theater. Between the sound design and, just the creepy shots that they pull off.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, not going to go into too many spoilers, but I'm talking about scenes with the water, in the dark in a basement.
Yeah.
Like that type of stuff. It's effective at home, but man, when you're sitting in that theater, you feel like you're waiting in there yourself,
Yeah, it's cool, and I feel like this is a good spot to start with.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think it's going to be the type of movie that withstands time as well,
And again, I might have some bias because I saw this a little while ago, and this is one of the first movies I've seen that was really scary. So I kind of built that, that has kind of stuck with me.
Oh, 100%.
So,
yeah. The first horror movie that you see or really attached to is always going to have a special place in your heart, Like The Shining did with me.
Number 4 is The Cult of Chucky.
The Cult of Chucky?
Yes.
Interesting. I have not seen this particular installment of the Chucky franchise.
Okay. So I have not seen any the old Child's Play movies.
So we're inverted. I've seen the old ones, you've seen the new ones. Okay.
Yes. So this is actually the first horror movie I've ever seen.
Ah, okay. So like I was just saying, it's got all the special place in your heart.
It was really just with a few friends, sleepover, threw this movie on, and it scared me, and I still remember some of the scenes.
I'm sure.
Because, Chucky's brutal. He's obviously gonna kill some people in some pretty gruesome ways.
Yeah.
There's some scenes with glass cutting people, or him curb stomping somebody with a boot. It's gross stuff to a 11, 12-year-old.
Oh, yeah. I actually remember when our parents told me that you were watching that film, and I was like, man, they're young, but I mean, they can handle it, and they said you guys were good. And now look at you, you're sitting here making your top 5 scariest movie list a couple years later.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
So I think this is very, it took place a mental hospital.
Okay.
And personally, my fear is a lot of needles and small sharp stuff.
Are you not into hospital settings? Are those really effective? There's a lot of good horror movies placed in hospitals that you're gonna be into. I don't know if you'll be into them, but they will be effective for you. Let's say that. Yeah. I mean,
they might make this list.
There's a horror movie called The Dentist. You can imagine how that goes. I personally can't watch it, but I've heard horrendous
I probably couldn't watch it.
Well, maybe I'll just buckle you in one day.
Just lock me down.
Yeah, just lock you down. You're watching The Dentist. I'm gonna go in the other room, play video games.
I just faint Madden noises. It's just a dentist playing on the screen.
You hear the Office theme in the other room. I'm laughing my ass off. So Mason, would you consider going back and watching the old Chucky films? Because I think they're pretty effective horror films, but I could see you seeing the old doll and thinking, compared to the CGI effects that they have in the modern Chucky movies,
I think I'd end up watching it.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be something top of my list.
Right.
But I think, it'd be oh, this movie scared me as a kid. Let me check out the older ones. Actually were great. Yeah.
And see, what's different too is back in my day, they would have these movie marathons on TV. I imagine they still have them, but people your age don't watch that anymore.
No.
So there would be a Halloween, I think when I was 14 or 15, they just had the Friday the 13th marathon on all night. And it was right after the point where I was trick-or-treating. It was just me and my friends hanging out. And we would just watch that marathon. And we watched 4 Jason movies we've never seen and kind of learn about it. And you guys don't really have that. You guys might watch some YouTube clips, but that's it.
It's really just your friends oh, let's see a horror movie, and we throw on the first thing that looks appealing.
Oh.
That's really, for my friends at least.
Yeah.
At least, again, one of these movies on this list later is one that I
just tripped over?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
it is cool. It is a fun way to find movies, though. It is fun when you just throw something on and you don't really have high expectations for it. And you're like, wow, that was actually really scary.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Number 3 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh.
The original one.
The original? You've watched the original Texas Chainsaw? Oh, man, I'm so proud of you.
I watched it with Lauren.
That's awesome. How recent?
Maybe like 2 months ago.
Okay, that's awesome. Oh man, that's a great movie.
It was on Netflix. I think I saw the new rebooted one, and it was horrible.
Yeah, it's not.
It was really bad.
I'm not a fan of really any of the new remakes of those classic movies.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single one. I think Freddy vs. Jason is probably the newest one that I would endorse, and it's not even really that great. It's just fun to watch them go against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
But this new one was not it. So I was like, let me see how good they were, and I watched this, and it was scary. It had some creepy, like, eerie moments, brutal scenes.
And that door slams when he first appears, and you just drag. Oh my god, that is some scary shit, dude.
It's pretty wild.
Oh yeah.
I think like definitely, I'm older now, so compared to watching these like other movies that I mentioned previously, where I'm a bit younger and more impressionable, I can see how I wasn't as really traumatized by this movie, but I can definitely see how if I watched it back then when I watched Quiet Place and Cold of Chucky, I definitely would have been more traumatized by this movie.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's the type of movie that's like a serious horror film, you know what I mean? And it's like the dinner scene, like there's some really intense mental stuff in that movie that you gotta be ready for that, man.
Yeah.
Like, you really do. But yeah, I'll tell you, that was one of those classic horror movies that I watched once again. It might have been on TV, I maybe watched on VHS with some friends when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And that's like a horror rite of passage. Like, you need to watch that movie to really appreciate and understand the roots of where our common horror movies come from, I think it's very important to watch those types of classics. Even if some of the things don't hold up particularly great, it's still important to check them out.
Yeah. Number 2 on my list.
Number 2
is The Shining.
Nice!
Yeah, so I know we talked about this in our last list, and we did a whole hold-up video on it. So we've already had a lot to say about this movie. We have.
Feel free to go check those videos out, by the way. We have plenty of content on The Shining. but you can't deny its placement on this list.
No, it's very good.
You can't.
It's very scary. A lot of like eerie moments. A lot of stuff that kind of gets you thinking, gets you like, I don't know, just creepy shots, especially for its time.
Yep, it doesn't rely on the jump scares or the gore aspects that something like the Chucky film, which I haven't seen, but I'm guessing probably does. Yeah. Especially based on the description you gave. I actually faint from certain blood things, so I have to be careful about what movies I watch. So it's really nice when I can watch a horror movie and not have to be concerned about that.
And still be scared.
And still be scared and shitting my pants. And that's what The Shining achieves, and I love it to this day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
I think it's a hell of a choice, Mason. Very good.
And again, if you want to see us go in depth, check out our long form video on it.
That's right.
Number 1. And I've mentioned, and some people say, oh, disturbing movies are different from like, the scary movies, because there's a big, like, some movies try and just be disturbing, some movies try and like, just give a cheap scare out of you.
Yeah, or like the gross out, like Saw 8.
This movie is definitely one of those disturbing movies.
Okay.
Martyrs.
I have not seen this one.
And you shouldn't.
I'm guessing I would faint numerous times in this movie. Yeah, okay.
Every 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, and I know we talked about this a little bit before, but refresh me on the plot a little bit. No spoilers, but kind of give me a little idea of where this goes.
And again, I don't know if a lot of viewers will really know or have even seen this movie. It is a good movie.
Okay.
It's just really extreme.
Okay.
So basically, the whole reason it's called Martyrs is because these girls are being tortured to basically find out what happens after you die.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They were like basically killing them, then healing them, then killing them, and healing them to the point to where they could get information about like, being on the bridge of dying.
Right, exactly. To tell the people who are alive what to expect in the afterlife, essentially.
And there's a lot of twists. There's a lot of really gross scenes, a lot of peeling of skin.
Torture porn.
Yeah. But it still has, like, unlike some of the later Saw 8, it has a decent plot with some cool elements to it.
Right, it actually has a purpose.
Yeah, but the main thing you're really paying attention to is the woman who's getting her head sawed in half. Yeah, it's not appealing, but
yeah.
I don't know. It's something that
It reached number 1 on your list for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I stumbled upon it with a bunch of friends, and we stopped halfway through. I couldn't finish it. I couldn't finish it. So I waited till later, watched the rest of the movie, and I'm glad that I didn't see it with friends because I knew half of them would have threw up. So,
yeah, including me if I tried to watch it. So yeah.
Well, you would have been rushed to the hospital.
Yeah. So I've been laying on a couch somewhere. Yeah, it's so definitely sounds like not my personal cup of tea because of my affinity to passing out with blood.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, certain types of people love that type of movie. You know, Hostel and Saw were successful for a reason. It's not because nobody went to see those movies, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm interested to hear that hit number 1 for you, but obviously had a really strong effect considering, have you had any other horror movies you had to dip out of halfway through?
No.
Yeah, so that does say something. Yeah. But you did go back to watch it. It wasn't something where you were so turned off by it you never wanted to revisit it again.
Again, it had a good story attached to it to where I wanted to find out what happened.
That's impressive. Yeah. It is, because that sounds, to your point, it has much more of a purpose and a story than something like Saw 3D. Which, oh my God, I tried to watch that, man. I got like a quarter of the way through it while I was at a friend's place having beers, and I was like, I'm out.
So just a quick recap from my 5 to 1. Number 5 is Quiet Place Part 1.
Boom.
Number 4 is Cult of Chucky.
Boom, boom.
Number 3 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Boom, boom.
Number 2 is The Shining. And number 1, the scariest movie I've ever seen, is Martyrs.
Nice, really like it. I think it's a pretty respectable top 5.
I like the punches too.
Yeah, they're pretty cool and inventive. On the fly. Cool, so rating the 5 movies that you just ranked in my personal preference, going from 5 to 1, let's start with 5. Martyrs, I'm never gonna see that movie, so unfortunately it's never gonna scare me. So it has to go at the bottom of the list. So, 4, Cult of Chucky. I would give that movie a shot. You know, I like Chucky movies, you know, so I would be into giving that a shot. Okay. But I think compared to the other 3 movies I have seen, I simply can't put it above any of them. Mm-hmm. That's by logic alone. I think that's fair. So, next one, Quiet Place 1 is at number 3. It's the lowest of the 3 movies I've seen from your list, but I still think it's a very effective movie. I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. Number 2, we're doing The Shining. It came out, you had 2 big heavy hitters. Yeah, a little different from you. I think The Shining is very effective. It's super creepy, and I like that it doesn't rely on the gore and stuff, but at the same time, my number 1, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is next level for me because, especially the original Texas Chainsaw, there is some of that blood gore aspect of it, but not enough that it affects me physically, so that's good. I can make it through it, but it is so creepy and effective in the imagery and all of the different characters. The Shining, you're so limited with your characters, versus the Texas Chainsaw, you're like put into this town, in this environment, and it just feels so icky. It just feels so icky from top to bottom. And so I have to put Texas Chainsaw number 1, even if I opened up the field to not just your list, to open up to all of the horror movies I've seen, Texas Chainsaw would be competing with number 1. So it's gonna make it to the top for this list.
I was not expecting that. I thought Shining would definitely top it based on what you said, but I mean, your explanation makes sense.
Yeah, I would say this. I think The Shining, if you're looking at it purely from like a filmmaker perspective, is probably a better like finished product movie. Yeah. But I think that's part of the appeal of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It kind of has that handheld, grainy, independent feel to it, you know? Which I think is part of what makes it so freaky. So Shining may be a better actual film, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre it will always give me the most heebie-jeebies. Also, this is the heebie-jeebie scale.
One more note.
Yes.
You put Mars at number 5.
Yeah.
If you saw it and you're scared enough or disgusted enough to pass out, I think it would be at number 1.
Well, I see, that's the thing. I don't think that just gore is scary. I think Well, I can't be scared by it. I get sick by it. That's a different feeling. It's hard to be scared and sick at the same time. So when I'm sick and I'm like blacking out, I'm not also thinking, oh, it's a scary heart wound. That's not what's happening. I'm losing consciousness. I'm trying to not embarrass myself in front of my friends. Someone give me a nice pack and then I'm out. And I black out and I hit the floor. It's not fun.
So, what are your final thoughts on my top 5 list?
I think it's a great top 5. I think, especially for someone your age, you've got some pretty mature movies on your list. I'm really excited for you to watch more as you grow older and I give you some more to watch and you trip over some more on your own. You'll probably expose me to some more movies, so I'm super excited about it.
Cool.
What do you think about my rankings of yours? It's pretty close, a little different, but...
Pretty unexpected. I mean, I think I definitely thought that The Shining would be above Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Other than that, like...
Chock full of surprises, man. Gotta keep things fresh. Cool. All right, well, thank you for checking out this list video. Really appreciate the support. Feel free to comment your top 5 scariest movies. We'd love to hear them.
I would.
Yeah.
Do it for me.
See you soon.
Do it for me, not him.
What? Thanks for checking out this video.
Like and subscribe and let us know what you thought about the movie in the comments below.
Let us know if there's any movies you want us to watch. Who knows? Maybe we'll watch them together.